The inside super awesome Jeff.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. Welcome. How is everyone doing? And in case you know what, the other podcasts do this, and we don't do this very well. We are a part of the Martial Arts Inner Network. Thank you for joining us and being a part of what we do.
We like this network.
We love it, and I hope you guys have too. And just every day now, we are doing lives now, either live on Facebook or live on YouTube. And tomorrow we have the Main Gang live stream, which we will do solely on Facebook. And just thank you guys so much for the support.
I'm always scrambling to try to see if I can get on that.
I know. I understand. It's okay.
So it's been a great week for the Martial Arts Inner Network so far. CTE had a great show this week. Fist Kicks and Flicks. They talked about, what was it? It was Steven Seagal. It was Above the Law. Above the Law.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. It's all right. I don't really love that Steven Seagal movie, but it's all right. Yeah. So that's really kind of how things have gone so far. But if you guys didn't know, this week it is part 2 of the Mike Conroy show, who shows up right on time. How's it going, Coach?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Hey, Coach.
We were just catching up on the week, how everything's been. How's everything been for you?
Everything's been great. School's finally getting back in order. You know, not nearly what it was, but, you know, we got about between 35, 40 people came back so far, you know.
Yeah.
Which, you know.
That's good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And I know that Wednesday nights was typically like a big training night for you at your school. So we really appreciate you coming on.
Yes.
The
yeah.
show.
Well, I was gonna call and say, hey, I don't, you know, can I reschedule? But my son Nico's in town. He said, don't you dare do that. It's unprofessional.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you, Nico.
So you know, he's in town, and we had a good workout with Mark G, Bailey, Jason Tankson. You know,
Jason's there.
Yeah, Stan. So we had a decent workout.
Yeah, you had some heavy hitters in the building.
Yeah. Matt Williams. So we had a good time.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I saw a little bit earlier, but I couldn't tell everybody who was there. So that's awesome.
So was everybody fighting?
Everybody fought, yeah.
So with everybody fighting there, because every day can be different. Who had it today? Who was the guy today?
Well, they all started off really slow because of the pandemic. But if I had to say which one had the fastest start, would probably be Bailey, because he's been fighting, so he had like the fastest start of everything else. Jason hasn't fought since Chicago, he said. You know, wow. Nico just started training since the pandemic started. You know,
right.
A lot of these guys really haven't been sparring that much. So
I think Matt's just coming off surgery, right?
Yeah, Matt's coming off knee surgery.
Yeah.
You know, he looked okay. Everybody looked okay. You know, so they're getting back into it.
Yeah. Funny story about Matt. So I didn't even realize he had knee surgery, and he was doing a couple of my seminars. And I was like, man, you need to kick a little harder than that, Matt. Like I was
You were on him about his kicking.
Yeah, I was on him about, I was like, snap your kicks, man. Like, all right, I'm glad you didn't put it up there, but, you know, let's start snapping them a little bit. Oh, it was funny. I didn't even know until like a couple of weeks, like the week after, and he was like, yeah, that's kind of what I was like, oh, okay, sorry, I was, you know, kind of an ass.
No, you're supposed to be.
That's right. Oh,
Absolutely.
Man, that's awesome. All right,
so
Alex, ready?
Yeah, let's jump right into it. So where we left off, Coach, and it's all right, I want to jump into it quick just because a Mike Conroy interview. Come on, doing it in 2 parts is like that's a pipe dream. Really, this could be a 4 or 5 part show, but
That's right.
we want to let you tell your story as much as possible. We ended last week's show with the first end of CJB. How did that happen? How and why?
Well, we talked. I think we
We
did say
talked
that
about
last week because of
Yep.
Spencer's kids getting into basketball and stuff like that. So that was the main reason for the team stopping. He just couldn't be there anymore. And as you know, Spencer was very involved with the team and at every event. And so I think it kind of bothered him that it just wasn't worth it for him not to show up. And he did carry us along for a while after that. Probably 1 year, right?
Yeah, it was because that 2004 was really weird because especially for us as a national, the world team, he actually brought on like a regional team too, if you remember that. And he was just trying to be like, he was doing a lot of stuff. He had CJB. We even had CJB wear, like clothes and stuff. He was just trying to start a clothing line. He was doing a basketball line. He had a basketball team. He had a regional karate team. So it was a lot going on. So
yeah, he might even did something with like cell phones or something too.
Yeah.
That he got.
He's like the Santa Claus of sports teams.
Yeah. He's definitely
awesome.
was. Yeah, definitely did a lot. For sure.
I know for me, like getting the call was like, oh man. So I felt it happening for a long time anyway. I mean, I remember just even when it was kind of like, hey, we have to cut back on this and this and that for certain years, it was like, we can sponsor this many full time and this many, So I remember getting those calls and stuff, but when that hit, it was like, oh man, this is real. Like we're not, this is 9 years now. Like, okay, this is okay. You're on your own. And I remember being like, not knowing what to do, like.
Yeah, that was actually, that was one I didn't see coming. I did see it, but I didn't want to believe it.
Right.
So that was like, man, it's like, how am I going to go on? Because we were definitely a family. It was definitely something like, and what I really learned from being with that team was how close we all had to be and how tight the team was. And I kind of learned that from the original Paul Mitchell team, but this all brought it back to life because with the original Paul Mitchell team, we were a local team. Basically, it was all guys from the New England area to go out and did fantastic. You know what I mean? So that I knew once you can put guys together and have them gel and be like a family, you can win, and you can accomplish most things. And I think instilling that was a big part of my success with winning with so many different teams, so that really CJB put it back on in perspective for me, definitely.
Big time. Yeah. I mean, it was just a weird thing. Like even like going to it. All right. So at a Kawoka tournament, I was just always wearing my CJB stuff. And I'm like having to think, all right, should I wear that? Or would they think that, like, cause at this time at the end of 2004, a lot of new teams started coming up.
Yes.
And even in my area, NBL teams, there was a lot of NBL teams. So I remember I went to Super Grands that year without a team and being like, okay, like I need to show out to try to get sponsored or whatever. And it was just one of those weird, like, do you wear this? Do you wear that? Some people may not know. So, it's just stuff that from the age of 12 till 20, 21, I didn't have to worry about. So it's like,
So what did you do, Jeff?
I think
what did you wear?
I didn't even have a school at that time either, remember? So
I know. This is the craziest.
It was weird. So I had like CJB pants with like a plain white top or something like that. I don't know. I mean, but I always, even until like I don't know. I wore my CJB pants when I competed. My 2004 CJB pants, like fighting pants when I competed. for years, even with my Grand Slam top on and everything. A
lot of us continued as CJB,
Right.
even when, because we called Spencer and said, hey, do you mind if we still use the name for a little while? Because we want to stick together. A lot of us did that. So we kept the name a little while longer than we actually had sponsorship.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of wore whatever I wanted to that day, you know? Like, I would even wear Elite stuff from back in. It's weird, okay? I can still fit in the stuff I wore when I was on Team Elite.
What?
Okay?
Wasn't that like in 1982 or something? Like, what are you talking about?
I was like 97, 98. That's insane.
So, how old were you then? Wait, no, not anyways. How old were you then?
13, I guess. Really?
Get the heck out of here, man.
Yeah, so like
Ain't no way I'm fitting anything when I was 13.
I'm back down to like 138. I'm back to the weight I was when I was 18. I was 160 last year, 2 years ago. So yeah.
Good for you, Jeff. Good for you.
But anyway.
Okay.
So, where we at? So, all right. So that next year was kind of
the next year. Now we're into 2005.
Right.
But 2005, we still saw, Coach. We still saw you at all the events. I remember seeing you at every event in 2005. So were you, and because I never asked you this, I don't know. Were you kind of just like scouting and planning, or did you just really love being around the events and just said, I just want to be here to be here? What was it like?
What it was, I had, I felt like I had a lot of people that depended on me, and I didn't want to let them down. So we had a group of people that, you know, really still wanted to compete and felt comfortable with me and wanted to stick together. So that's what we did. And, you know, and actually, Ross Levine, his dream was to be on CJB. That was his big thing. He wanted to be on CJB, you know, and we kept the name CJB. And actually, Ross, when I picked Ross up, we were CJB.
Yeah.
So Ross had a CJB uniform on, and that's when I believe that year also we won the Ocean State, because I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, the first event with Ross.
I think it was.
Jason Tanks. Remember, he got there late, but Jason came in. And who was our third? Maybe Nico.
Jason, he doesn't never show up late.
No, not Jason.
Just kidding, Jason.
He showed up today on time too, actually early. So I was like, experience. But, so that first few events we wore CJB. We weren't sponsored. We just stuck together, and I don't remember exactly how we formed that, because we ended up with Ryan McGriff also. But I don't remember if Ryan McGriff wore the CJB. Did he come on as CJB in the beginning of that? I think he did. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, that's right. I think it was Ryan. It was Ross, Jason.
And then
that was a three-man team, I believe, and maybe
that
Nico.
was a three-man team. And then, like a couple months later, it was like a month later. Yeah, it was like a month or two later. Renee Peralt joined the team.
Yes, Renee.
But at this point, we're past that. Now we're into 2006.
Yes.
At this point.
Yeah.
Because this is Ross's rookie year as an adult.
Right. Exactly.
And so before you picked him up, I remember this. I remember his rookie adult tournament in NASCA was at the end of 2005. That's when the AKAs was in like October. It was like after the Diamonds.
Yeah, October. November.
At that point, like when you're in late October, early November, like people don't really pay. People don't really do a lot. And so Ross just went out there and won 2 Warrior Cups in his first adult tournament. I was like, okay, this guy's going to be something to watch for when he really hits the adult scene. So then he goes to compete, and And he ends up in the final fight. So, yeah. So then you guys pick him up. We're mid-2006 at this point. What's happening now? It's Jason. It's Ryan. It's Ross. You guys just won Ocean State. You guys are legit. Now what?
Yeah, that was all basically on our own. That's what it was, you know.
So
and,
Spencer wasn't really involved, right?
No. I don't believe he was involved at all at that point. We just asked to use the name and everything, and he said, yeah, but we got a sponsor quickly after that, you know.
Right.
Because after that came Wazaroo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wazaroo, they sponsored us, and they gave us a little something, and that carried us through that, and helped us out a lot. So,
and so what? Just explain what Wazaroo was, so for people that don't know.
Wazaroo was a company out of Canada. Is a company out of Canada, and they had another team, a Canadian team, Hugo Sports, I think.
Yeah, Hugo Sports.
Yeah, Hugo Sports.
They were Hugo Sports before, and they switched the name, right? Is that what it was?
Yes, yeah. So that's where they came from, and Clermont was the key basically behind that, because Clermont has a bunch of schools out there with a bunch of students and did a lot of business with them, and so that was the connection with Wazaroo there with Clermont to keep us going.
Yeah,
and Clermont always liked me as a coach.
Yes.
And when I picked up Renee and then Sam and stuff, you know, we always hit it off really good. And so he helped us with that sponsorship, and that carried us through there.
Yeah, we always had a good time up at Quebec, and then I even remember when he came down to Super Grands with us one year.
Come on, yes.
Yeah, and just, man, great guy, just pretty awesome, and always a supporter of the team. Like we said last time, he had us do that 3-man continuous fight thing, which was amazing. And every year he wanted to feature a CJB guy, you know. So.
Right. Yeah, he did. We did. Yeah, I did the 2-man team challenge, all that. Yeah.
Now you guys had an interesting team dynamic with the first CJB team. I mean, Jason, it's Jason. You can't go wrong with Jason. It's Jason, right?
Yeah.
And then with Ross, I mean, that was like, he's a rookie of the year. There's no two ways about it. That guy was, of course, right?
That was the second CJB team.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
This is the second CJB team. All right.
Right.
And then having Ryan on there, how did that happen with Ryan McGriff joining?
Ryan, I seen him fight. He was on a team called SWAT.
Yep. It was like a local team or maybe even a school team.
Yeah. I think they I forget the gentleman's name. Real nice guy.
I think they're out of Dayton, Ohio, right?
Yes, and he brought a group of people. They were like, I don't know if they were part of PAL or some. I don't remember if it was a school or something. And he had Ryan, and I watched Ryan fight, and I said, "This kid's gonna be good."
Roger Haynes, yeah.
Roger, yes, that's exactly who it was, and so we picked. I asked Ryan. I talked to Mr. Haynes, and I said, "Hey, I'd like to pick this kid up. We can give him, you know, a sponsorship," and that's how we picked up Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan was interesting because, and this is not, I'm not saying anything negative about that team, but when they would team fight, it would just be like, all right, Ryan's just going to fight in the anchor, and they'd be down like 10 points.
No, Ryan never fought anchor.
He had to have one time. I'll tell you this one time. This was an old strategy that coaches. Maybe one. Here's what happened. This was an old strategy that a coachless Team NK team had. We did whatever BJ said, right? Whatever BJ Carnahan said, we did. And if there was a really good kicker, it was like, all right, Alex, you go fight him. So when I saw Ryan, I'm like, give him to me. And BJ's like, I got him. And he had this look on his face. We're like, all right, whatever. We were up by like, I don't know, 12. And we almost lost. Ryan came back like that much. And it was like, I thought about it. I'm like, dude, BJ's got you by like, I don't know, 200 pounds. Like, there's no way, right? Because Ryan he's like 5'10", but I think he weighed like 130, right? So,
Yes.
and I thought, there's no way. There's no way. BJ's got this. No, Ryan's foot just never stopped. And it just kept going and going. And yeah, we didn't win by a whole lot. It was only like a couple of points. I remember Hamid and I were like, oh my gosh, we luckily won that matchup because of that matchup. Right. That's just what Ryan could do.
Something happened there that I put him in anchor. There must have been a matchup I didn't like or something.
No,
because
this was long before he was on CJB.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I mean when
right,
you were
before
talking.
that. Okay.
Yeah, long before that. This was not with you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. With you, he was an anchor. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
he used to start us off because Ryan would put us up by a lot, 98% of the time.
Yeah.
Put us up by over 5 points in just about every team fight.
And how long was Ryan with your team, like with you as a coach? How long was that? About 4 or 5 years?
Long
Yeah,
time.
4 to 5 years. Yeah.
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 Because he was with you with
6.
CJB.
Yeah.
Then he was with you with
Wazaroo.
Wazaroo, yep.
Did
And then
he
Full Circle.
ever end up on Full Circle?
No. Yeah. Actually,
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he was
of
on
the-
Full Circle.
Yeah,
Yes.
because of the 2009, was it 9 or 2010 at Sin
Right.
City when they did the set fight with him and Willie? He represents Full
Yeah,
Circle.
he was.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes,
he-
that's right.
yeah,
Yeah, he
wow.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was on Full Circle. Because yes, when we were still going with CJB or no Wazaroo, that's when they approached me. Actually, Calvin talked to me because I was good friends with Calvin.
Right.
If you want, and that's how the Full Circle thing came along because Calvin thought that Wazaroo was my school team, that Ross and they were interested in Ross and Ryan. They said, hey, you got a couple good fighters there. You know, we can offer them this. I said, no. I said, this is my whole team. And I said, we're all together and they're not a school team. And he said, well, we'd like to talk to you about, bringing on, a couple of your guys. And we sat down, we talked. I said, well, if you want, we can merge the whole team together and become one, but you have to take everybody.
Right.
And they did. Tom Kelly said, okay. And Tom Kelly took what we had of Wazaroo and gave us full sponsorship and took me on as the coach. And me and Calvin were both coaches of the team, and that was history. We became the number one team.
For some reason, I remember that being like Gator Nationals when they first announced it or something like that. Or when because I remember Jason and Ross showed up down there, and it was the first time they had like the Full Circle uniform. For some reason, I think Gators, but it may not have been. But I wasn't.
I wasn't.
Yeah,
at
I don't
Gators.
think you were. I don't think you were there. But I remember Jason and Ross being down there and them doing some videos and some tutorials for some of the sites that were coming up, like Sport Martial Arts and stuff.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah.
So before we get off the Wazaroo, who was the squad in the Wazaroo? Because the timeline goes CJB 2, Wazaroo, then Full Circle.
Right.
So what was the squad with Wazaroo?
Nico, Bernard Parquet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Renee.
Ryan, Renee, and Ross.
Right.
And
Renee's wife, Noemi.
Yeah, that's right.
And Hamid. Hamid was on Wazaroo.
And Hamid, yes, came on to Wazaroo. Yes, he did.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah. That was now I'm just getting a little plug. So with Hamid, I remember, Coach, you were early. You were probably the first guy on Hamid because this is when you were scouting everybody. This is in 2005. NK's doing some stuff. Hamid's not really winning his divisions, but he's clearly showing that he could do what he can do. And info I have is You talked to Alex Reyes and you said, listen, if you're going to pick somebody up and you need someone now, you should pick up this Hamid guy. All right? The very next day, Alex Reyes calls Hamid and he's like, all right, guys, I'm leaving. And I'm like, what? Oh, well, this stinks.
That's absolutely true. I told Alex Reyes that, and maybe we didn't have a sponsor at that time in between that little mix because
I don't even think you had a team.
Yeah, so Alex called me up and said, hey, if you had to pick somebody up, who would it be? We were talking or something, and I said Hamed Feruzzi. I said, I can't believe the kid's not picked up yet. Definitely.
Right. Yeah, I mean, man, wow.
What was now? But that was
did
interesting.
Mallory get
though.
on Wasseroo as well? Did you have Mallory on Wasseroo or not?
Yes,
I thought you
yes.
did. Yeah. I thought Mallory was, and Mallory actually was having some of his best years at that time, man. I mean, man, he was winning all the senior grands and everything.
Yes, he was definitely. Mallory definitely was pulling it through.
So, and I know we talked a lot about him last week about just how awesome he was and how that was your man.
He was the biggest turnaround of the team, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I always thought that was interesting, but I didn't know what it was like from your standpoint, because when you had Hamed on the team and Ryan on the team, those two had wars with each other, not just in the division, because they were both super lightweights, but also in team fights, right? Once we all right, Hamed, you got a strategy against Ryan, which was kind of a strategy, because it was feast or famine, the way that they would fight each other. But how did you manage having them both on the same team together? How did you do that?
Because I just explained to them that, listen, it's not about an individual, it's about a team. My big thing is I want to win team fighting. And with you two on the same team, it can be a big advantage for us, because both great fighters,
Right.
So that's it. I mean, if you want to talk about how did I get two people on the same team, Nikki and Dottie.
Yeah, all right, here we go. We meant to talk about this last week. Oh, man. Nikki and Dottie. Woo!
Let's talk about that one.
That was...
Now, this is CJB 1.
No, this is even Team Elite. This wasn't even CJB. This is Team Elite in 2000.
That's right. This is Team Elite.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Dottie was on Team Elite from 98, the end of 98, until the middle of maybe 2000 until she left.
Right.
And that was when Wilburn, her coach, was on as a coach.
As a coach, yes.
Yeah. And so
Nikki is teamless at this point?
Yeah, she just does whatever. She just shows up.
She's a
and
hired
wins.
gun.
Yeah, she doesn't need to do whatever she, And her and Nikki, Dottie and Nikki had Dottie was the top one for NASCAR, right? And then when Nikki showed up. And then they battled at Battle of Atlanta and actually got in a little bit of a brawl at Battle of Atlanta, right?
A little bit.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm being nice.
In the center of the ring.
Oh, man, it was insane.
Just blows back and forth.
Yeah. And so I'll let Coach take this next part over, but yeah.
No, it was, one, it was bad. It was real bad. But, the thing was it was a little bit of friction in the beginning anyway, because me coming on and Wilbur being a coach and me taking over was a little bit,
Yeah.
That was a pride check.
Was hard. Yeah. So I believe in the beginning it was me as the men's coach, Wilbur as the women's coach, and things like that.
And junior coach. Yeah.
Right. And junior coach. And I just handled the men's. And then when I said, look, we got to put Nikki on team. She's a great fighter. And they're like, well, no, it's, I'm like, look, we can't worry about them. They got to be adult about this. And that's it. And then eventually Dottie ended up leaving the team.
Right.
And it was, because you think about it, it was clear Dottie and Nikki. That's insane. Team. That's an awesome team right there.
That's like some people's great team. If you would pick a team of all time, some people would put that. like a fantasy team. Like if you really want to say it, because Dottie will mess people up. Like she would rough people up.
Yeah, and Dottie, when she left, and I talked to her like a year later or something, she felt that I did it because I didn't like her. And I told her,
you don't do anything because you don't like someone or like someone.
I said, listen, it was all for the team. I love you. It's not about that. It's about I have to do what's right for the team to, so.
Yeah. Well, we also had, like, before that, we also had Deshaun B as well, which had, like, swept people. And, I mean, she
had some style.
Yeah.
Yeah, she quit. She stopped way too early,
Way too early. Too early. So, I mean, we always had that kind of way to kind of balance it out. One person that we probably need to mention so when Nikki wouldn't show up to a tournament, and it was because there was only one time maybe that they both were at the same event. I think that was Ocean State that year.
No, they were at a few. Kansas City.
Yeah, maybe so. But a lot of times the third was Stephanie. Stephanie would step up and would be that third, and we didn't lose. We didn't lose like women's team from like 98 till like maybe 2002 Super Grands. That wasn't even really our team.
No, Stephanie Flowers could fight. She did well. She definitely did well. And Claire, forget it. At that point was
amazing,
sweeping everybody. She was doing really well.
Yeah. So like at Super Grands that year, it was Stephanie, Claire, and Nikki. That was the team.
Right.
I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so like that was something that was cool about NBL was that there was actual women's team. NASCO just depended on certain tournaments,
Right. Yeah.
But so let's go back to. Sorry, we kind of went backward.
No, but that was important to cover, though. That was that was good.
Yeah. So we're talking about. Let's get into the beginning of Full Circle, which is kind of Wasseroo was a great team. You guys had successful record, successful.
Oh yeah.
I mean, over everybody.
Yeah, and actually, that's where we picked up Jason Grenier also.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yes.
Man, and that was a big one.
Thank you,
funny.
Nico. Well,
that's good. That's
Thanks,
good that we
Nico.
had that. Thanks, Nico. Yeah, I remember it was it was like in early 07, and I was fighting. We had a matchup against Jason Grenier's team, and Ross is such a nice guy. Ross Levine, he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, you should probably not fight that guy." And I'm like, "What are you talking about, guy? I got him." And he goes, he defends kickers really well. And I'm like, now I'm gonna get him, right? I got him that day, but the next two times we fought, I did not get him. And Ross was absolutely right. But how did you see that coming? How did this pickup of Jason Grenier come? Because I got to be honest, he is efficient and good, but he's got to be the most awkward fighter with the kind of success that he has.
Well, I seen him fight in Canada, and he swept through the division. I believe he beat Raymond there, and he swept through.
I know which one. Yeah, I know which fight you're talking about.
Yeah,
So
defensive sidekick clinic.
Yeah. So I spotted him right away, and I said, I want that kid, and we asked him, and he became part of the team. But he had a little bit of a problem in the U.S. It's like he wasn't the same person.
Yeah.
It was weird. In the beginning, it was really weird. He didn't have the same he didn't have the same success. He'd go to Canada, kill everybody, come to the U.S. and lose. Yeah. I'm like, how is this happening? What are you doing? So the same thing I tell Cody. Cody was doing the same thing. And so I said to him, I said, listen, where are you? And they're like, Atlanta. I'm like, no, you're in Canada. So every time I'd ask them, where are you? They tell me now, Canada. And it just turned them around. It was weird. And that's when Jason Grenier just took off. There's no difference here to Canada.
I hope they never had someone checking for concussions, asking where they were, and he kept saying Canada. Like, man, he's messed up.
Exactly. Well, you're not fighting today.
Yeah, you're not good. That's funny. Oh
Yeah.
man, that's good stuff. That's good insight because everyone kind of goes through that. Like every fighter has something that holds them back. Every forms competitor does, and that's one of the jobs of the coach. Maybe the most important is to figure out what that is, right, and help them attack it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the thing is like you'll hear a lot of people say, I don't need a coach, or it's ridiculous to have a coach, or I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, to me, it's definitely not true. I mean, every professional sport has a coach. If you
every
have a good
business person has a mentor
or
a
coach,
business coach, or a life coach or something now.
And if you
So this is it right here. Coach, this is where you and I know it. I was one of the guys that said, no, you don't need a coach. You can go out there. You fight. You just go out there, fight, win, done. But
right.
We've talked.
But the thing is
you're
on
right.
some, yes. But if you got a coach that knows the game and knows the rules and can motivate his players to be the best that they can be, and get that point for you, or take that point away that shouldn't have been there. There's a lot to it. It's not just yelling and screaming. Okay, I'm not one to just yell and scream to cause a scene and be like a cheerleader. I strategize. I played the game. I study the game. I study the rules, and it's different. And I do hear that a lot from certain people, but the same people I hear it from are the same ones that got a coach in their corner.
Right.
And I get a lot of people from other teams that ask, hey, can you coach me in this division? And there's some of my good friends and some of the top fighters. And I say, no, I got a team here. I'm not going to coach somebody that's not on my team when I got a team.
Right.
Here. That's not my job.
Wait, somebody wants you to coach them.
Hold on. Alex, Mike Bates just said, wait, did Alex just say that someone is right? I had to add that in there. We have a lot of people commenting right now, so
good one, Mike.
It's really cool. It's really cool right now. So
I'm trying to think. So somebody wanted you to coach them. They're not on your team, and you got a team there.
Yeah, well, it happens a lot. It happens a lot. Hey, can you coach me in this fight? Or it happens a lot. And if they're fighting for first, especially, or something, somebody behind them. But it's a lot of the same people that say they don't need a coach. Their team doesn't need a coach,
Right.
So, I mean, yeah.
Usually they want on the team. That's usually what it is. In some ways.
Some of them don't. They just don't have somebody there with them at that time that they're comfortable with.
That's true.
Yeah,
I just remember at a time in CJB, it was where we had a lot of people wanting to be on the team, and it was just that way. It's like, oh, hey, and rubbing elbows, and I'm sure it got that way today. Yeah. It got that way with Full Circle, I'm sure too.
It is like that. I mean, it's to be expected though, especially when you got one of the top teams, and
correct.
There was a lot of that.
And they know that what you do works, right?
I try.
Yeah. All right, Alex, let's go right into Full Circle. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's hit it. We're in the Full Circle. Calvin Thomas talks to you. You guys
What's the year? What's the year? 2007?
Yeah.
2008? Yeah.
2007.
Middle of 2007.
Full Circle?
2000. No, maybe.
I don't think it's 9.
No, I think it was 7.
It was 7, and then 9 was the big year. Yeah.
Yes.
7 or 8 maybe, but yeah.
The end of 7. I think it was the end of 7. We didn't come on beginning of the year. We came on, I want to say, June, was our first tournament, our first big tournament, because we beat the All-Stars at New England Open for first.
Right.
Okay. Coach, you're wrong. It was 2009.
Oh.
Was I?
It was 2009.
Oh, then it was the end of 2008. Are you sure?
Okay. I'm pretty sure. I'm sure.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
The end of 8 then, right? The end of 8?
That's right, because I remember
Yes.
I went back. I went to the U.S. Open that year in 2009, and saw you guys and hung out with you guys.
So it was June of
yeah.
2008.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, in through that because our first event was we talked because we talked at Ocean State is when we talked, and then our first official event was New England Open, and that was the middle of 2008, not 7. Yes.
Got it. Yeah, 9. Sorry. Yeah, we're all messed up. Again,
Okay.
like I said, I was
now
doing
we're
other
there.
stuff.
We got the team.
That's why I call you, Jeff, to ask you dates.
I know. I'm sorry. It wasn't good.
So we got the team, and who's the team consisting of? Is it basically just what we had with Wazaroo? Now we put them over their full circle plus whatever full circle had. What is that?
Full circle had all kids at that point.
Yeah,
it was basically a kids team. Tom Kelly's daughter, Mia.
Houston Thomas.
I think he had just moved up though.
Rusty.
Dre
Graham.
Rusty Clark.
Yes, Dre Graham was on there because I competed against him that year.
Melanie Ortiz, and she's been with me ever since. Okay, Melanie was on the team. John Cortillo.
John Cortillo. What a guy.
John was on that team. So our original team was a takeover of that. And
Julio was on there, right?
Yep. Julio was on there.
Yeah, he just said 2009 we had 2 teams and both teams made the team finals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Julio said that?
Yeah.
Oh, tell him we missed him tonight. I can't see the comments there.
I know, no. I'm having to look on my phone. I can't see him on this, so yeah. But yeah, so no, I remember that taking off and we went to US Open that year, me and my family. And so the funniest conversation happened because my mom showed up at a tournament the first time in a long time. And Tom Kelly, you just like told Tom, talk to Robin about Jason. And I'll never forget that. And he was like, and she was like, yeah, it's just what you have to deal with.
Jason's one of a kind.
He's one of a kind. And we love him so much. But
yes.
But I'll never forget that. And just being a part of all that, seeing everyone and seeing how you were taking the next step, was and Ross was on there. Everyone was on there. Did you guys know that was, I'm trying to remember, what was your record that year? Like, what was some of the,
I'd be lying if I told you records. But I know that just about every team at one point was the number one team, and most of them for many years.
Right. I think in 2009 and 10, I think it was the number one team.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
And once again, it was with a lot of young fighters,
And then Cass Sigmund joined the team.
Yes.
I think that like a year later. So
it wasn't too far after that. Yeah. Cause I remember he was at US Open with Amerikick. And then after that, he was like, I want to be with Conroy. I mean, you've seen him
Cass,
since a kid. So
yeah, we did watch him since he was a kid, and I talked to Cass, and I didn't know he was on a mirror kick. I don't know why I didn't realize that, and I talked to him, and then he said that. I said, "Oh, we'll talk to them and straighten it out." And Cass came along, because Brian was like one of his instructors, and
Brian Plimple,
and he talked to Brian Plimple, and he told him to come.
Yeah.
So we had Brian Plimple for almost a tournament.
Almost. An almost tournament.
He did join our team after the SES thing fell apart. We asked him, and he did join our team. And then next thing you know, he says, "Well, I'm going to go with Paul Mitchell."
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We talked about this. We didn't talk about this on this show. I told the short story on the main gang the next day because I knew that was we had a lot of stuff we didn't get into. But that was one of the ones. And yeah, we even had his ticket for the cruise and everything.
Yeah.
And the Miami training and everything.
Yeah.
But
and it fell apart. That was like the Brian Ruth thing. Same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of different ones. I remember seeing you guys at the 2009 Super Grands with Full Circle, which was like the first time you guys showed up to the Super Grands and since 2002, since we walked out of the team finals. That's one more thing we need to talk about. And do you want to talk about a little bit and then go back to Full Circle? Because you and I personally talked about just sharing about those times.
Well, I mean, a lot of people started to say, they're walking out turns. We never ever walked out of a tournament for the benefit of one thing. It was for the benefit of the sport in the whole. The first one we walked out of, AKA, which it was over Mallory, and I believe Kevin Sluter. Okay.
Yeah.
I was actually coaching in another ring, and Spencer went over. They were disqualifying Mallory, but the rule was you have to see what made contact to cause the bleeding.
Right.
Okay.
Oh.
And they had that blood rule, and people were like hitting their own nose to get a disqualification.
It was crazy.
Stupid
it was crazy.
stuff. It was
and that
Wait,
turn
to keep someone from hitting you in the face, you'd hit yourself in the face to disqualify.
I'm telling you, I've seen it. Okay, so Spencer said to them, Spencer said, what caused the contact to cause? What was the technique that caused the bleeding? And they told him to get out of there. What do you have to do with this? Get out of here. And
that's John
had a different partner at that time. I don't remember who the partner was, but he just basically kicked our sponsor out of the tournament.
Out of the tournament, yeah.
And told him, get the hell out of here. Who are you? And so we had basically our whole team in the finals. And Spencer pulled me up in the room by myself, and he said to me, Mike, he said, look, he said, if you want to take the guys down there for the finals, that's fine. They're all in the for the money. Okay. Take them down there. But this is what happened. And this guy, I said, no, we're a team.
Yep.
And none of us are going to the finals. Okay.
Yep.
So he pulled together, said, look, and actually Melissa was pregnant with Tyrus at the time, and she wasn't at the event. So what everybody decided to do was they decided to go shopping, and they had like a baby shower and gave me a bunch of stuff for that. And Spencer gave every single person at that table $1,000.
Right. Yep.
He gave every person that was at that table.
I was up for the junior grand, and I was up for maybe $100, and I got $1,000.
Yes, he gave everybody for sticking by him, and and he knew that somebody on the team was going to win $1,000, and all we kept hearing, we ate in the hotel lobby that was right outside of the tournament. So all we kept hearing is winner by default, winner by default, winner by default, because they had nobody to compete against, and then so he appreciated us sticking by him. So that was our first walkout.
You had another walkout with the U.S. Open.
Yeah, that was our last one, I believe.
Yeah, that was our last one. Yeah, the 2002 one was at Super Grands because of the change of the rules.
Right, and the Super Grands was exactly because the change of the rules. So we were fighting Bob Leiker's team.
Yeah, IDC
for the title at the Super Grands, and Boyce called me up and said, Mike, can you come down and have a meeting? So I said, yeah. And Boyce said, look, Mike, we're not flipping a coin for team fighting. We're doing light, middle, heavy, whether you like it or not. I said, Boyce, no. I said, there was agreement all year. We flipped a coin, and that's how we shot out for team fighting. Okay? You throw out who you want. Whoever wins that coin toss, you throw out. Okay, no, we're not doing it. I said, Boyce, I'm just letting you know now. If you don't do that, I'm going to have to do what I got to do. Okay. He said, okay. And then he called Bob Leiker in a separate meeting, and he told Bob the same thing. And Bob's like, look, no, we agreed on this. Okay. So we go up to the stage in front of everybody at the finals, and they're saying, lightweight, come out. I'm like, no, we're flipping a coin. They're like, no, you're sending the lightweight out. And I said, no, we're flipping a coin again. No, send the lightweight out. So I said, all right, guys, let's go. We walked out of the tournament. We turned down the title, and Bob Liker also stepped off, and he walked out. You know, he didn't accept that title, so the third place team took the title for that.
Yeah, we know one of those people.
Yeah.
Anyways, so many different times we had it, and then the Kumite Classic as team.
No, they don't.
Full
they didn't claim it.
Who?
That's what they said. They didn't.
Yeah, they didn't claim the title.
Oh,
Boyce wrote it. Boyce wrote us
right.
two out
Boyce.
and wrote them in. Yes, that's
Correct,
what Boyce
correct.
did. Yes,
That's true. Anyways, so Drew just put that we walked out of the finals at the Kumite Classic in 2012, and that was part of a full.
That was a full circle thing.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
was.
And that's kind of where we're at right now. So let's talk
where
about
we're at.
that.
The Florida thing happened before that. The Florida walkout.
Yeah, the Florida was messed up.
Well,
Let me, because I was involved. I was one of the teams involved in that. So, remember, team, no coach. Okay, that's what our team was. It was me, Greg Betlock, and BJ Carnahan. That was our team. Boom. Okay, so we had no clue what was going on because nobody wants to tell us. Like, who cares about you guys? So they say, all right, CJB is in. We never won nothing, so it didn't matter to us, right? Whoever's in it, doesn't matter. So, and all of a sudden, now we got to rewrite the whole thing. CJB's out. What do you mean you got to rewrite the bracket? Like, they walked out. We're like, but why? They're standing right there. I'm looking at them, right? And they said, no, they said they didn't want to go. They said they wanted more prize money. I'm like, all right, whatever. That was not the truth, though, was it, Coach?
no, that was the truth.
$300. $300 for
There were 20
tournament?
there were
Well,
20
it was half
20
truth.
something teams. 20 something teams
There was
in
a
there.
lot. There was a lot.
Okay. We were the number 1 seed.
You were.
Yep.
Okay. 20 something teams, and they wanted to give $300 for team fighting.
Right.
Okay. I
And it
feel
costs,
4
like,
people.
I think it costs like $185 a team.
Yeah.
I feel 4 people that split that money in team fighting.
Correct. It's crazy.
Okay. So, you know, it was, to me, it was ridiculous. I'm like, so I went to Mike and I'm like, Mike, why are they only getting $300? What if one of my guys gets hurt in team fighting and they can't fight for $1,000 tomorrow? I said, doesn't even make sense. So we had the back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, Mike says, all right, we'll up it to $750. He did up it.
But that was
Yeah.
after we already agreed to bow out, though, Coach.
Right. But he
That's
ended
what
up.
was messed up about.
Right.
Right, exactly. But the thing was, we didn't do that just for CJB,
I know
thinking that we were going to win.
No.
We did it as a whole for the sport. Come on, you got 20-something teams in there. You're giving out
You're giving
$300.
$300.
But
Come
now,
on.
here's the half truth, though. They told you that they talked to all the other teams and they were fine with it, right?
I don't remember exactly what they said. I was a little heated at the time, and
Yeah.
I think they might have said, but then they did up it. Okay,
But they lied though, because nobody talked to us. Because of the three of us, take a guess who's the spokesman of my team.
Yes,
Right? Nobody came talk to me.
right. But what happened was they ended up upping it. The team fighting didn't even start
Nothing
yet.
happened. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
And once he
Bracket
said,
wasn't
okay,
even
we
set.
upped it. And once he said we upped it, okay, I said, all right, we'll fight. I didn't care if he upped it 200. Just give these guys more. They deserve more. Give these teams more. Okay.
Right.
And, you know, there was Paul Mitchell there. There was the All-Star. I mean, it was actually straight up then. And they had, you know.
Raymond, Kim Doe.
They had the Raymond Daniels straight up team.
And Joe
They had
Greenwald.
Paul
Right.
Mitchell.
Yeah.
They had a lot of good teams. bunch
Right.
of
There
sports
was a
too.
lot of good teams. Yes.
A lot of good
A lot of teams. Yeah.
And my team was
Chris, yeah.
Trevor, Damon, and Jason. And our fourth
No,
was
Trevor was on our team then. Trevor, because 2004. Remember he left in 2003.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So it was Damon,
Dame.
Jason, and Josh, and maybe was Tom.
It was Josh.
I think
it was Josh Harwich.
And then Tom was also on the team
Yeah.
as well. So we had Tom and Russ was there. So we had 5 people that we could have put in there anytime.
Right. And once they said that, we said, okay, we'll fight. Nothing had happened. We were the number 1 seed anyway, going to the end.
And you're standing right there.
And they said to us, no, you can't. You already pulled out. We're like, what? And then they said, we got to ask all the other teams. Paul Mitchell said, no, we don't want him back in. Joe Greenhall, Hugh Smith, everybody said no. They voted us out. They didn't want us back.
But that's the
into
other thing.
event.
Nobody did that. Nobody asked us anything.
Right. But I know they did ask some. I know maybe they just asked the top 4 seeds.
We were one of them.
Okay.
We took third. So I'm going to tell you this, spoiler alert, they didn't ask everybody. They asked Joe, they asked Don.
And that was it.
That was it. Yeah.
And they said no, they don't want us back in. And we couldn't team fight. And then Spencer offered Alex some money to buy his team name.
Yeah.
Alex Reyes. And Alex was looking for a third anyway, didn't have a full team anyway. And Alex said, okay.
We'll put Jason.
And we were going to go in under, it was WKF at the time, I believe, right?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And we were going to go in as WKF.
Yep. And just have Manny and Jason and Damon.
Yeah.
Much.
So but then they said no to that too.
They changed the rule about like how many people you could have or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah.
So
they said that's not your team, so you can't do it. So they shot that down too.
Yeah.
So we did it for every team to give these guys more from what they deserve, and 750 still a lot of all them teams wasn't a lot.
No.
So
I mean for that many.
So let's do this. Let's go back. We've been going like this.
We've been going on a lot,
but it's okay because it's all great. It's all great stories. I want to go back to full circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got to get into full circle.
We watched a big team. It seemed like every tournament there'd be another guy that would get on, and good ones. Like all of a sudden you see Damian Rodriguez is on the team. Like, oh wow, aren't there a lot of lightweights on that team already? All right, and then you'd see another guy. All right, but what was it like? It kind of felt like it started with 8 guys, and then it ended up with your 53-man roster, like you were talking about before.
Well, Tom again was just a super guy and wanted to keep all the players that he had on there. And, we started to, we picked up a good amount of people, and then we sat down and thinned it out at the end, but he didn't want to let anybody go when we were trying to pick up different fighters. And so we could never recirculate. We just had to add on. So that's how it got big. And there was a lot of juniors on that team.
Yeah. There was a lot. You mentioned that it was the number 1 team for a number of years in a row.
Sam Gagnon was part of that team also.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Who would you say was probably your most successful fighter or competitor on Full Circle?
Yeah, it had to be Ross.
Ross Levine?
Yeah.
He was winning weapons championships too.
Yeah.
And he was on a streak where he was beating Raymond pretty often. He really buckled down and did really well. Ross had to be the most consistent.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the only person I saw not consistently, but even have a chance to beat Ross was a couple of times Ahmed and him were going back and forth, where they had
that's right. You would I mean, it felt like every other tournament for like a year and a half where
It was
Hamid
them two,
and
light
Ross.
and heavy.
Yeah,
with the
I
climbing
think
they
too.
fought
Hamid only got
often.
him once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they fought quite often. Those
Yeah,
two.
I mean, Ahmed was the lightweight and Ross. And I remember Ross telling me, he's like, man, I think the most underrated person on our team is Ahmed. Because everyone at this time was trying to do a lot of promoters were trying to do set fights and everything. And everyone was picking other lightweights.
Right.
Except for Ahmed. And I remember Ross telling me that. And just like, dude, this dude's awesome.
You know, for a couple of years there, I mean, Ross probably won the most overalls, but we had Ross, Ryan, and Hamed. They never lost their division. They won their division like 90% of the time. They always won their divisions. So they were very, very consistent on winning their division, and they'd knock each other off.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all I could ask for.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you had different people, like even like Cass coming in as his own
Yep.
at that time. Several others. Jason kind of coming in and out depending on what year it was, being a part of the team. So
Cass's first tournament with me was we went to the Irish Open, and he was fighting at the Irish Open, and he's beating some guy big. This guy was a monster, and you got Ross coming in.
Yeah, we got someone for you, Coach.
yes,
Well,
Ross,
we can't see you, Ross.
Let's see your video.
Oh,
we
no.
gotta see you.
Let's see. Start video. Right. Boom. There we go.
What's up, Ross?
Up?
So,
What's up, guys?
So Ross happened to be standing next to me at this time. And Ross will tell you about this. It was the funniest thing. And Cass is fighting. I don't remember the guy's name. He was a monster, huge. And Cass is beating.
I know what you're talking about. We're talking Irish Open.
Yes, and so Cass stops after he hits this guy. This guy looks around. He does like a Bruce Lee hop inside kick to Cass, right in the stomach. And Cass's face goes, and he's walking back to the line. He's going, and he can't breathe. And I'm laughing. Ross is standing next to me laughing. And I'm laughing so hard, I got tears coming down my face. So Cass is coming over. This is like my first time coaching him, okay? He comes over and he's like,
Yeah.
And he's like, and I'm laughing. He goes, what the hell kind of coach are you? I was dying.
Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious.
I'm gonna cry.
It was like the funniest thing.
was crazy.
Wow.
Cass was funny.
Wow. What's up, Ross? Welcome, man. Thanks for joining us
Good to
and,
see everybody.
for this part.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
We were just talking about all the Conroy years. Is this about the teams that we had?
Yeah.
We talked about Wazaroo. We
we're
went
into
into
full circle.
and I said, "Hey, Coach, who was your most successful competitor on Full Circle?" And Coach, you said
Ross Levine.
Sure. And it's because of that guy right there.
Oh, man. That's awesome.
A lot of, I would say a good 75, 80, 85, 90% of my success really started with Coach Conroy. I still don't know. I have questions because I still don't know to this day how he even knew to, number one, I don't know how you got my number back when you called me for CJB. Still don't know how you got my number. And that's a crazy story too. I don't know if you guys touched on that. How I came.
we did talk about it a little bit. Not about how he got your number.
I don't know. I remember.
No.
So there's a little bit of backstory behind it. So I was supposed to go, or Don Rodriguez had asked Jody to field a 3-man team to go to Paris for Waco. And Jody had said, I want to let's take me, Ross, and Jason Borelli. And Don Rodriguez said, no, Ross can't go. We're watching him for Paul Mitchell. And it was the same weekend as Ocean State. So he's like, Ross can't go. He's got to be at my tournament. So naturally that came back to me and pissed me off because, of course, who wouldn't want to go to Paris at 18 years old? And then
Right.
if the event was Friday, Wednesday at like 4 p.m. or something like that, I get a phone call from Mike Conroy, random number from Connecticut. And he's like, hey, I'm putting a team together to team fight at Ocean State. Do you want to fight? Didn't say anything about CJB. Didn't say anything about, hey, we're bringing a team back. Just, I'm putting a team in for team fighting. Do you want to fight? Absolutely. So we go, and then, long story short, there's the riff with me and Ryan McGriff, because Ryan and I had just fought at AKA.
We did not touch on this one, but I do remember that fight.
No, we did. Oh,
I remember that fight.
Yeah, so Ryan and I are still kind of like, we had never met before. We just fought. I had beat him at AKA. We get into the elevator at the same time at Ocean State, and we go push the same button. And we're standing on opposite sides of the elevator, like just looking at each other. And I was like, you going to Mike's room? Like, yeah, you? And I was like, yeah. We were both like pissed off. So we go to the room.
That's awesome.
So we go into the room. Mike's there, and it's just Mike and Renee. So Renee doesn't speak English. So the three of us are sitting there in silence, and Coach is like, "Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back." So we're
this is comfortable.
Yeah. Smart thumbs. Renee's just got that look on his face like he always does. And Mike comes out of the bathroom with the CJB bags, and all of us were just like, boom. Like, man, I'd always wanted to be on CJB since I was a little kid. So it was like dream come true for me. And then later on that night, Tank showed up, and we smoked Paul Mitchell at that event. The event after that, we had a really good year. So that was cool. So, Mike, how'd you get my number?
I still can't tell you, Russ.
Wow. Crazy.
That's awesome.
Maybe if you fight for me again one time.
I promise you I'd give you one. My retirement fight's going to be with you.
See that? There we go. You guys heard that. Ross's retirement fight will be with me.
Yep.
Well, then I hope he doesn't fight for you for a long time.
Well, we're talking about his retirement fight for Point Karate, not his career.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
So he can we never know where that may show up. It may be right after this pandemic.
Yeah, maybe. Might be during the pandemic. We might show up at Battle of Atlanta in a couple weeks. You never know.
Oh. Wow.
I talk to Russ quite often,
guys.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Still a member of Team Impacts, but I did promise Coach that before I call it quits for good, I'm definitely going to fight for him again. So.
That's so
So
cool.
Ross, help
That's
us
so
out a
cool.
little bit. We were just talking about the full circle days. We talked about really all, it started with, felt like 8 to 10 guys and ended up with a 53-man roster. And we kind of talked about how it was a lot of juniors. What was your experience with Conroy on Full Circle? What was that like?
Well, it was the same, because my experience with Coach Conroy had been the same experience. Apologize, this is Piper. Anytime Piper hears voice, got to jump. So she's funny. But my experience with Coach was always the same, because I'd been with Coach since I was 18. Before pretty much my first event as an adult, or like my third event as an adult, was with Conroy, and I'd been with him up until when I went to Impacts. So, the relationship with Conroy was great, because I already knew what to expect. So it was 2009 Ocean State is when that conversation happened, because I remember we were Wasaroo, and Wasaroo lost its sponsorship. So at the time, if I'm not mistaken, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but Claremont was helping us out of his pocket.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just to try and keep it alive. And, we had gone through this a couple times with Coach, unfortunately, but it was, it's nobody's fault, but it was just one of those times where it was like, hey, we're working on some different sponsors. We want to try and make something work. Like, you guys can go to other teams if you want, but let's try and stick together if we can. So we all said, no, nobody's leaving. We were rolling at that point. It was myself, Ryan, Hamed, Renee, Nico. We had so many options on that team.
Right.
Jason Grenier. I mean, we were putting in 2 teams at every event, and it was, I don't want to call it A and B, but both of our teams were in the finals at all times. And then I remember, just as like a throwback, at that Ocean State, I wore the CJB uniform and I won the overall. Tom Kelly had approached me, and I said, you need to go talk to Conroy, because I can't answer those questions for you. So it was 2009. And then, he took the whole team, man. It was crazy.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd ever seen something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
and the one thing I always told my players, and Ross was one of those guys that, you know, that stuck by me, and Sam Gagnon, Freddie LePen, they stuck by me, and I appreciate that, and I love him for that. And we're still very close, even though he's on a different team. Russell still come down, do training. We talk all the time, you know. And the one thing I always told my players, you know, if we lost our sponsorship, look, you don't have to stick here. If you got another offer, go. I don't want to hold anybody back, you know. And some of them held out for as long as they could, you know, and stuck with us, and we were able to get a sponsorship and move on, you know. So it was good. We had some loyal people, and I was very, very loyal to my guys, you know. So it was a good thing for them.
Right.
So go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say around this, you've been doing this for a long time, but when did you really get into the boxing part? Because I want to get into that, because that's an important part as well. When did you start becoming the boxing coach?
I started in a school since I was 7, and we had a ring basically all the time. So I was boxing and kickboxing my whole career coming up. And so we were always in the ring and doing stuff in the ring and stuff. And then I got involved with the World Combat League. And then
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about
Ross,
that.
did you ever fight in the
What
World
year was
Combat
that?
League too?
No, but I was there for the tryout at Mike's school. That is the only time ever I threw up from training. The only.
Whoa.
Wow.
That was nuts. I never really ran, and we started the workout with a 2-mile run. So I was shot right from the get-go. I was exhausted. And then honestly, it felt like a black belt test. You know, when you, I'm sure you get a belt test, it's just like, when is this going to end? And it's like, it seemed like by the time I got to the point where it was like, when is this going to end? We were like just getting started.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a crazy workout. But
yeah, Henry just put a throw up face up. He said, yeah, he remembers that.
Who was that? Who remembered that?
Henry, Hank Robinson. Yeah.
I don't know if Hank took part of the workout or if he was just there hanging with everybody.
I'm not sure.
he actually, the H came by the school tonight. He made an appearance tonight.
Cool. Myself, what's up? I'll have to see that dude soon.
Yeah,
but,
that was
cool.
That was the he said Snipes.
Snipes. Oh man, Snipes.
Yeah, that was when we were gonna come up with the New England Strikers, and I was taking over the New England Strikers and getting that team. We started off that workout. There must have been 40 people at that workout.
Easily. I think it ended 15.
Yeah, well, it started off 40, 50 people, a lot of people. So many people, they brought in titles and belts and this and that, and they couldn't punch themselves out of a wet paper bag. I'm like, what the hell is this title in? I mean,
wait a minute. Time out. You started the workout with 40 people.
Yeah.
But only 15 were left? What? They quit?
No, less than 15 was left at the end.
Oh, wow.
Less than 15 at the end. We did a
Did
break
they quit,
for lunch.
or did you send them home?
No, some of them.
Both, right?
Wow.
Both, yeah. It was both. And some of them I just told that they couldn't make it, and they left early. But by the time lunchtime came, some people just didn't come back after lunch.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe we did 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon.
It was 2 workouts, and the first one was conditioning, pad work, and the run, and then that was like to weed everybody out. I was supposed to come up just for a point fighting training workout that weekend, and next thing I know, I'm doing kickboxing training with these guys, and I was a rude awakening. But I want to say the second workout, we had lunch, and then we had that second workout. And some people were like, oh, I can't stay. I got to go. They're not feeling it. They were not feeling it.
Yeah,
the only people I really remember at the end were myself, Scotty McAdam, and Shannon Hudson.
Yep.
There were a couple others that were around too. I just don't remember them off the top of my head.
Yeah, but I mean, there were people sneaking out of the door with their bags through the workout.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was but I told them, if you can't make it through this, you can't make it in the World Combat League.
Oh,
You know,
right.
It's a whole different animal. But Scotty Mukadam was probably at that time in his 40s, early 40s, and
Animal.
he killed the workout.
Yep.
Yeah.
Probably the toughest, strongest one in the whole workout. You know, he definitely, he was a beast. You know, this guy was definitely a beast. Shannon Hudson, really good. I would say at the end there was maybe 5 to 8 people left by the end of the whole workout.
But so was this season 2, right? Was that when you came on season 2?
I came on. Well, what do you consider season 1?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, I just know that the finale of
When did you come on?
what was it? Season 2 was you versus LA, right? Your team versus LA, correct?
That was our final.
That was your final.
I started off actually through Jason Tanks. Jason was on Philadelphia.
Right.
And
sure. Correct.
Philadelphia, and Jason asked if I can come on as an assistant coach to coach him through the World Combat League. And Stephen Thompson, Wonder Boy, was on that team.
Right.
And the father was the coach. So he said, yeah. So the show was at Mohegan Sun, and I went there and helped him assistant coach. And then after that, they asked me if I wanted to take over. Hugh Smith and Corey Schaefer put in a word to say that Mike Conroy should have a team.
Right.
And so they asked if I'd be interested in taking over the New England Strikers. And so
who had it before you?
It was, I forget his name, out of Rhode Island. He was Christina Rondu's coach, I believe.
Okay.
I
can't remember.
And Joe Greenhall, I think, was part of that.
Right.
At that time and stuff. But when they told me to take it over and redo the team, that's when I did that workout. And I redid the whole team. And then all of a sudden we got word that we're not going to have a New England Strikers anymore. So then I was without a job. And Derek Panza asked, he said, they asked if I would be willing to be assistant coach with Derek Panza. And me and Derek Panza were roommates, were teammates with Paul Mitchell at one point. So I said, yeah, I'd love to work with Derek. And I was the assistant for the New York Clash.
Yeah.
And so then once the New York Clash, Derek did one event in Atlantic City, and he didn't want to do it anymore. So then they asked me to take over. And at this time, this had to be, I believe, the second or third year of it. And New York had never even won a fight. They didn't win a team event at all.
They weren't. No, they were not good.
Yeah. So I came on and I redid the team, and
I think the only one you kept was what, Jennifer? Maybe it was the only one that was
Jennifer Santiago was. Yep. And
so you just came in and cleaned house. So what was the roster after you got done tinkering with it?
What's that?
What was the roster after you created it? What did the roster consist of?
Well, we had a few different rosters. Like the end of the year roster, we had Pat Berry, which ended up going to the UFC.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, we had Jennifer Santiago.
Ahmed fought.
I brought Hamed on. I brought him on at the end to fight against Jack for that.
Oh, Jack.
Thing.
That's right, Jack.
Yeah. Rami Abraham.
Yep.
Thierry Bowman.
Was Chris Algieri on that team, or was he somewhere else?
Chris Algieri was on New York, but not when I got there. He would have already stopped.
Right.
When I got on there. So,
I mean, I just remember there being like, okay, there's a lot of different teams, but the sport karate team was the LA team, right? Because that had like Jack, Jason, Raymond,
Donald Hickers.
Donald Vickers was on there at times. Brian Schwartz was on there at times. I mean, they had all their crew, their guys.
Brandon Hastings was on there.
Yeah, Brandon Hastings was on there. Everybody. Yep. So, that was that team, and then pretty much at the end of the year, it was you guys versus them.
At the end, and
man,
at the end, it was us versus them. You know, they didn't give us nobody gave us a chance to even make the playoffs. Never mind the championship. We
Correct.
won our conference championship, and then we went, and we should have not lost the championship.
No,
we should not have lost. It was the reason
Tara was on that team too.
Yes, that was, and what happened is we were up, and we should have been up by a lot more. Jennifer Santiago got pushed out of the circle, okay? And they said, look, if you're on the circle, okay, come down off the circle. You know, if somebody pushes you out, we're not counting that as knockdowns or anything. And Jennifer got pushed out of the circle.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I remember this now.
When Jennifer got pushed out of the circle, they called it a knockdown and they gave her an 8 count.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what really put us in a position, because the last fight now was coming up, and I believe we were up by only a few points at that time.
Right.
And Raymond was the last fighter, and he ended up
Ross wasn't out there.
No.
But you did your job. You negated. You stopped Jason. And
I stopped. That's who was
Ahmed. Yeah, and you put Ahmed on Jack, which Jack was undefeated at that point, except until
AB Han,
yeah.
which ended up turning out to be a professional boxer, having a great career. Abraham Han. Actually, Leo Valdivia was on my team.
That's right. Yeah. Leo
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
So when they pushed out, now Raymond needed a knockout.
Yeah.
And
we
would have been up by, I want to say, 18 points if they didn't count that knockdown. And a knockout is only 15-0.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah.
So there was no way they could have won if they didn't call that knockdown.
Wow.
So that's what ended up happening there. And they took the championship.
Wow.
Raymond did get the knockout at the end, and you can't leave things in Raymond's hand at the end.
No. But just a couple things.
Not at all.
No, not at all. But we only have a few minutes left. Just share, what are you doing currently, Coach, as far as with boxing? And then we'll get into Alliance and K-Tot.
I am, Sue and Rickard are great friends of mine.
Yes.
And they have been trying to get me to coach team for like 5 years. And
Correct.
I wouldn't do it because I didn't want to, any friendship, because the way I am with my teams,
correct.
I want it this way, and I didn't want interference, and I didn't want to ruin a friendship or anything like that. And I still had guys that were sticking by me. So I couldn't leave my guys. I couldn't leave my team and say, hey guys, I got an offer, So I wouldn't do it. And then finally, we talked, and, they come to my house quite often. We, very good friends of mine, and we worked it out where I, again, could bring my team along and join forces with them, and became
awesome.
part of KTOC.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, I know for me, when the Hayabusa thing came out, actually before that, you even called me on a random day. I was actually heading to Dixieland for that tournament, and you were like, hey, you're not on a team right now. Do you want to be on my team? I was like, well, I wasn't really going to be being on a team, but if you're calling me, yeah, I'll be on your team. I don't care. It's like anything to make it to where I'm with Conroy at least one more time, right? And that's what was cool about the Hayabusa thing, was like one more chance for you, me, and Freddie to be on a team together, right?
Right. No,
and it was so cool, and it didn't last very long, but it was just a cool thing, right, to happen. And I think all of us, we keep trying to find just those moments again, and when we're like, hey, like, that was cool when that happened, and let's get that one more time. Even like Ross, like, hey, before I finish, I'm going to have Coach coached me again, right? Right, Ross?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know that. That was pretty
Yeah,
cool, Ross.
Mallory said the same thing, and
Right.
and you know these are guys that are going to be with me through my whole life, you know.
Right.
So and we'll always have them memories and play more. You guys, it's part of my family. So, but my main thing now, which I really enjoy doing, is the boxing.
Okay.
It's a whole different breed. It's a lot. Listen, it's a lot harder to deal with. It's a lot harder to train them. It's you know, they're not nearly as disciplined, a lot of them, as the martial artists.
Correct.
Okay, they're not nearly as disciplined, and I'm talking high level boxers, and you know, it's hard to do that. It's almost a babysitting thing a lot of times too, and they don't understand a lot of times is that look, you have to be the next level. I don't want to have the average kind of boxer. You know, I want to win world titles.
Who are some of your guys right now that you're coaching?
Well, I got a guy coming up. One of my boxers that I had really high hopes for was Deshaun Smith, and he just got shot and killed a week and a half ago. And
wow,
heartbreaking. This kid was like 6'2". He was going to fight at 122 pounds. You know, he was. I believe he could have really went a long way. Great kid. Wrong place, wrong time. 7-year-old daughter. I mean, it's heartbreaking, and it really hit home. I mean, I had another one a couple years ago get shot and killed, but I expected it because he was more of a, you know, involved in the streets and stuff like that. And this one here, I didn't expect it from. But my other ones, Carlito, is up and coming. He had just before the pandemic, we fought our first fight against someone that was just before he fought us was signed by Champs Boxing out in Vegas as motor, and we fought him and we beat him our pro debut. So that was a big win for him. I got a couple guys coming up that are turning pro. I had Tremaine Williams, the mighty midget, and we separated ways. A little disagreement on some stuff. We separated ways about a year ago, and he was at the time 19-0.
Wow.
And actually, he just fought on Showtime about a month ago, and he ended up fighting for a world title, and he ended up just losing for a world title. So he was he was undefeated and just took his first loss, and hopefully he comes back strong. You know, I had fighters like Alvin Ayala, which we won a title. Michael Moore out of Cleveland, Ohio, and he's going to fight again. And when he comes down, we do a camp. He comes down for about 8 weeks, and we do a camp, and he'll fight again. So those are my main guys now. I'm trying to actually get this guy. He's a beast from Serbia, and we're connecting now, but it's very hard. He couldn't get a visa here last year. It was hard for him, and now forget it. But as soon as this is over, this kid's I believe I showed Ross this kid, and his kickboxing, he won like numerous Waco kickboxing titles in Europe. That's all mainly what they have is just Waco is it for kickboxing, point, everything. And this kid's a beast. He's had one pro fight. He's 1-0 as a pro in boxing, but he's got so many titles in kickboxing, and he's an animal. And I'm trying to get him here.
So do you coach any kickboxers, or is it just boxers?
No, I did. I got some really good kickboxers, low kick, and I got away from it. I really got away from it. I used to do MMA too. I trained some MMA fighters, and I didn't like the MMA thing. I didn't like. It was a whole different breed of animal. I had some pretty good MMA guys. The kickboxing, there just isn't enough around. If you're not a high level, if you're not like Glory or something like that, I don't know how much Bellator gets or whatever. If you're just fighting local shows, and Ross will tell you, there's not much money in it at all. And it's very hard because in the States, kickboxing is not big. It's not a big thing in the States.
Not anymore.
Over in Europe, it's huge. It's huge over in Europe. And here it just doesn't catch on. And in the boxing, I mean, you can make a lot of money in boxing and the avenues are so much better in the boxing, and it's a lot more exciting, and you can move up the ranks pretty good. I mean, the only difference is in boxing, one loss means a lot. You know, one loss in boxing sets you back big time.
Right.
So that's the one thing about boxing compared to like MMA. You could be
you can lose 6 times.
Yeah, you can be 10-6 and still be fighting for a world title. You know what I mean?
Or in the earliest, for a contendership or something. Yeah. Depend on who you beat. That's what I think it is. Yeah, and it's not always the same in boxing.
Right? No, not in boxing. So, boxing, I mean, and there's a lot of different organizations, so depends on which ones you know, and the promoters are.
Speaking of the kickboxing, what do you got? What are some things that you see, or you got some advice for Ross as long as he's here?
Yeah,
about his kickboxing.
I'll tell you guys right now. When Mike is the reason why I fight at the weight that I fight at. So as an amateur, I was fighting. I didn't want to cut weight. I felt I was strong. I was fast. I was already beating a lot of the top fighters in the world at 200 pounds. So I was like, I'm not going to cut weight. I fought my first amateur fight at 190. The guy, my opponent came in, fought. He was overweight. He was like 210, but I was like, yeah, I'll fight anyway. And this guy walked through everything. I had another fight at 190. And again, I just couldn't. I was hitting people as hard as I could, and they were just walking right through me. And I remember I went down and trained with Coach, and he was like, "What the heck are you fighting at 190, 195 for?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's just comfortable. I don't have to cut weight. It feels good." And he's like, "You need to go down 185, 180 at least." He's like, "You'll start knocking people out." Very next fight, I fought at 185, knocked the guy out. And he said, "If you can do it, keep going down." So I fought the rest of my amateur career between 80. Mostly like 75 and 80, and then a couple at 170. And I finished my amateur career with like 6 of my last 7 fights being knockouts.
Wow.
And then my first 3 pro fights at 170 were all knockouts too. So the coach is the reason why I'm a fighter. But it makes sense. Yeah, he's super knowledgeable, man. I mean,
he is.
Every time I get a chance to come down, I come down. We do some boxing work, and I've brought my fiance down there and had her do some pad work with Coach too. So I love it. As soon as I get some more free time and some of this stuff clears up, I'm going to come down and keep doing some cross training.
That's so good. That's so good.
Well, Ross also did everything the right way. You know, there's different ways to dropping the weight. He went about it the right way with a nutritionist, all that stuff. You know, I had one of my boxers, Michael Moore, fought in the Super 6 Boxino tournament, and he lied to me about his weight because the first time that he came to me, he hated it because he lived with me, and my wife made him his meals, and we made him eat the right way, and he didn't like eating the right way, but he was very successful. I believe he was like 13-0, you know, and he told his managers, he said, "Look, I love Conroy as a trainer. I want to continue to train with him." He said, "But he can't be in charge of my weight or my food anymore." So that was, I said, "Listen, I'm not going to ask about it anymore then." So he came back, he did, and then he had like a year layoff, and he did the Boxino tournament. And right there, I was like, "Mike, come on, you know, the Boxino tournament, first one back, that's a big tournament, you know." And he did it, and I asked him, "Weight's good, everything's good?" Yes. Everything was good. You know, we get to the tournament. In Boxino, you got one chance to weigh in. One chance. If you miss your weigh in, they got a guy there ready to fight in your spot. Okay, so you got to make weight on the first try. Okay, they don't mess around. So they're calling Mike's name. I'm like, "Where the hell is Mike? What's going on?" And The manager got him up in the sauna. I'm like, why is he in the sauna? And the sauna is the worst place for a fighter to be. The absolute worst place. Because when you get dehydrated, what a lot of people don't realize, when you're dehydrated, okay, and the fluid is drained from your skull, your brain, and around your brain, okay, when you're getting hit, your brain is racking against your skull. That's why the fighters that die in the ring are always the small guys. You don't really hear of a heavyweight dying in the ring because they're not worried about that dehydration or that weight loss. And they're doing it all improperly. So I'm having like, what are you doing with this kid in the sauna the day before he's fighting? Okay. He makes weight. I try to hydrate him up. And the best thing, one of the best things to do when you hydrate is one of the best things to drink is tomato juice. Okay. You drink tomato juice to, that sodium will hold that water. So you have tomato juice and you drink your drink. Yeah. So it hydrates you one of the best ways. So I try to get him in, and he seems to be okay. The fight is the next night, and we go in the locker room, and I'm doing mitt work with him. I'm warming him up. And he's like, not even sweating. I'm like, I knew right there. I'm like, all right, let's slow down, because when you don't got your fighter sweating before the fight, okay, and you can't get him to sweat, that means he's dehydrated. Okay, when they're dehydrated, they get delusional. It's bad. Okay, you can't lift your arms. It's the worst feeling in the world, and it's easy to get it's a lot easier to get knocked out. Okay, not only because your hands are down, because your brain is racking against your skull. Okay, so he wins the first round. He comes out and he couldn't even move in the second round. He ended up getting stopped. This kid has never even been knocked down. Never even been knocked down. 13-0, never. He's an animal. He hits hard, and he just wasn't him. So the whole point of that is, when I talked to Ross went about it and did everything through a nutritionalist. He went and cut the weight the right way, and he was able to hold up that 190 power at 180 pounds. Okay, right. And that's the difference.
That's like not fair.
Well, 170 pounds.
People don't realize Mayweather is probably the only person that walks around at his fight weight. You know, he's like the other. You know, I mean, most of these fighters, they're always 20 pounds over their weight. What they fight at, they're normally 20 pounds over that. You know, so it's a big thing. So when I talked to Ross and he went about it that right way, I knew for a fact that, you know, you'd see a big difference in Ross, you know. And I was supposed to make it out to one of Ross's fight and be with him and help him out, because I do know his trainer. He's got a good trainer and, you know, good people around him. So he's in good hands, and Ross does things the right way.
Yep, so of course. Awesome.
Well,
awesome.
Spoiler alert, Ross is going to be on the show here in a few weeks too.
Yeah.
For his solo show. But Coach, we wanted to surprise you and bring him on. You said he was your most successful fight, and I didn't know you were going to say that, by the way. I had a feeling you were going to say that, but I didn't know you were going to say that. But Ross and I, we already had a plan. It's a surprise just for you.
It's a great surprise.
Love it.
But how we wrap up every show. Oh, sorry, Ross. Go ahead.
I should have just showed up at Coach's house and just knocked on the door.
I know, right?
You know what? You know what's funny? I had a workout at my school today, and I said, you know what? I should call Ross today. And I don't know why I didn't even call you. I was like, yeah, you know what? He's so into the kickboxing right now. He's not going to want to come down and do the sparring, because I know you talked about maybe doing something overseas soon.
Well, I was supposed to fight in March in Belgium, and then that got with COVID. Right. And right now, Glory just got rebought by a new company, and they're promoting some shows. So they have 2 shows in October and then another mega show in December. But everything's in the Netherlands, and Americans can't get overseas to Europe yet. So there's still the European travel ban. So Americans can't fight over there. So Glory's going through some interesting stuff right now. I'm really not too think. I know my contract is still good with them, so I'm just staying sharp, trying to keep myself in shape. And it's interesting. I was just having a conversation with somebody today where it's like I'm I'm taking this time, and there's a lot of people that are sitting around going, oh, I can't fight, and, woe is me, and they're throwing themselves a pity party. But that's the difference between being a fighter versus being a martial artist. Like, I'm taking this time and finding a way to make something better. So there's always something to make a little bit better. So I'm just enjoying training. Because a lot of times when you're in fight camp, it's not enjoyable. I'm constantly thinking and studying, and it's like it gets ugly sometimes when you're dealing with all that stress. So right now it's easy because I can just focus on just be a martial artist. I'm just doing it because I love it. So I think I'm going to really come out of this better than I was before, which I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to do.
And you're probably 100% right. And I'll tell you what, most fighters, the third week in fight camp are miserable. Okay. Yeah. With dieting, with the workouts that, a lot of times you're doing 2 days, 2 a days with the strength and conditioning and your sparring work and all that stuff. It's really, really hard. But Ross is smart by doing that, because the one thing in the fight game, when it comes up to kickboxing and boxing and these professional organizations, you got to take every opportunity you can, and they can call you at any time and say, hey, do you want to fight in 4 weeks? Yeah. Okay. So that, and unfortunately my boxer that just, passed, we weighed him in, and I said, you got 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, I put your name in because they're going to call and say, you want to fight in 4 weeks. That gives us right now a 6-week training camp. So you have to make sure, because if you start turning down fights, then it's like they don't call you no more. And they're going to call you last minute, especially if you're on the B side of a card. There's an A side of a card and a B side of a card. Okay. And if you're on that B side of the card, they want to call you as late as possible because they don't want you to be ready. So that's the one thing about the fight game, so it's smart
interesting stuff
doing that. And he's right, by working out now and having that fun and enjoying what you're doing, keeping that weight down, that's perfect. That's extremely smart.
I'm fortunate where I'm around a lot of really, really talented fighters in the Northeast that aren't necessarily kickboxers. There's a lot of really good kickboxers up here too, and Muay Thai practitioners, but there's a lot of guys up at Lausanne's Martial Arts, Joe Lausanne, with UFC, and I've been a lot of their main training partners. So my buddy Mike Rodriguez just fought in the UFC last weekend, scored a big first-round knockout, and I was his only sparring partner for the last 5 weeks. So
wow.
I've been getting my work in, and I'm not at liberty to say who I'm going to be working with, but if you guys are working on if you've been following like the virtual Point Fight Tour, for that second episode there, I'm going to be doing some training with one of those fighters up here, getting him ready for his fight. So
awesome.
Love it. Back in my element. So yeah, man.
Love it. We'll be talking about that next week, I'm sure.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah. All right, Alex. Let's let Mike finish up the way we usually do with these interviews.
So
all right.
How we usually do this, Mike, is for every guest that's on, we have them do like a send off. Like if you had one thing to say to the rest of the world, because everybody across the world listens to our podcast, what would you tell them?
What would I tell them? Keep listening.
I like it. I like it.
Keep listening.
It's all about listening, right?
It's all about listening. Absolutely.
And you would tell them to subscribe and share and comment
subscribe,
on the podcast.
share, listen to this podcast. 100%.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Ross.
Guys,
for
it was
coming
great.
On.
Thanks, Ross. Thanks, everybody. It was great.
We've had some fun, man. And of course, I mean, I can't say thank you enough for all you've done for me. So thank you so much, Coach. And thanks for being just a mentor for me throughout all of this. So, and all of us. Yeah. So thank you so much.
I appreciate that, guys.
Thank you, Coach. This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week.